What's up, guys? Got asked a couple questions recently, some requested videos that a couple guys asked questions about. One was being a fighter and how you deal with the emotions, the nerves, being nervous. That was one question, and then the other question was very similar. A guy was asking about doing a video about when you make your pro debut and how you deal with the magnitude of the moment and the nerves and stuff like that. It's kind of similar both ways, guys. You're always going to be nervous to a degree. I think everybody gets nervous. A lot of people lie, say they don't get nervous. Everybody gets nervous to a degree, but some people get way less nervous than others. That's for sure, and it's kind of obvious if you've been around the MMA or the fight community. It's very obvious. Some people just do struggle with nerves, and this is why I also say that people should be fighting a bunch of smokers before they take even sanctioned fights, quite a few amateur fights before they take pro fights. Because the more times you do this stuff, guys, the less nervous you get. You're just less nervous. I remember a big part of how I broke this and how I was never the person that got super nervous, but I mean, you're human, you still get somewhat nervous. But what I did is when I started off boxing first, and I started training late in life. I was 2 months before my 20th birthday, so basically 20 years old when I started training anything. And it was boxing. I found a boxing gym. And what I did is I took as many fights as I could. My coach would be like, oh, there's a tournament this weekend, you might get 2 or 3 fights. So I would go sign up. And I had 20 amateur boxing fights, all basically in about a 1.5 year time period. And when I would transition from boxing to MMA, I had no ground game. I'd been grappling for 4 months when I started doing amateur MMA fights. And keep in mind, this was 2009, so the sport has evolved drastically since then. But back then, I had 4 months of ground game, and I was able to win 4 out of 5 amateur fights. With the one I lost, I got armbarred. But I won 4 out of 5 amateur fights with basically 4 months of grappling, because these other guys were so nervous and so scared to get hit. They weren't used to boxing, and I was used to competition at that point. For a 1.5 years previous, I had 20 fights. I was used to making big walks. I fought, at the Golden Gloves. Is still a pretty big event here in Fort Worth, Texas. So I would, I fought in that, in two times, and then I also had a bunch of tournaments where I'd have 2 or 3 fights. Just making that walk out there, hearing the crowd, being nervous. It really made my transition to MMA very easy, honestly. And also, even though I only had 4 months of grappling, I've always had good natural takedown defense. But as a whole, the experience was amazing. It really helped me get used to breaking my nerves. So that's why I suggest, guys, you take 10, minimum 10 smokers, boxing and kickboxing both. You don't want the first time, even if you're a high-level grappler, let's say you're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu or you were even a junior college wrestler or something, I don't think you should be, I think you need to get used to getting hit. So you don't need to just do grappling tournaments. You need to make sure the first time you get punched isn't an MMA fight, and I think that will help you with your confidence and not be so nervous as well. But it comes, guys. It comes, and some people handle it worse than others. And another solution I would say is you have to be in tip-top shape. First of all, you should be in shape year-round, and you should be in shape when you have fights, and you should really be putting in real work. But the only thing that's going to solve the problem of you getting nervous, having maybe an adrenaline dump, is your cardio. Your cardio is going to have to push you through that, because, and especially if you're new to fighting, if this is your first or second fight, whether it's a smoker or a sanctioned amateur fight or a pro fight, you're gonna get nervous. So if it's your first one, you're really most likely, almost for sure, gonna have adrenaline dump. I remember my first fight was at the Golden Gloves. I fought 3 times that 1 week, and my first tournament ever. And you train for 3-minute rounds in boxing, but I was a novice, beginner division, so you were fighting 2-minute rounds. Then so many people signed up. There were so many people there that they didn't have time to make them long. They made all the fights 1-minute rounds, all of the novice fights. So I was a beginner fighting 3 1-minute rounds, and I was just dead. I was so exhausted. Adrenaline dump, and everything was like a sprint. So these things are going to come, guys, but the best advice I can give you, be in shape, be in the best shape you can be in to get over the fact that maybe you might have an adrenaline dump. Be mentally prepared for it, and know if it comes, you can deal with it, and it'll make it easier. Just anticipate it maybe happening. Obviously visualize otherwise. I think visualization in fighting doesn't get talked a lot about as much as it should. I mean, visualizing, closing your eyes, seeing yourself walk out there, seeing your people cheer at you, see yourself being relaxed, see yourself trying all these different techniques and then landing, and seeing your hand get raised at the end, seeing, just visualize the moment exactly how you want it, and do that very consistently leading up to a fight. And I do feel like that helps, guys. But yeah, that's my, I guess, simple, easy answer there for that question. How to deal with your nerves. Just make sure you're in good shape and be ready for it. Just anticipate that it might happen and be ready for it. And your cardio will push you through if you work hard enough, it will. And just try to take as many fights leading up to a pro fight as you can. The more ring time you have, that's something that can't be replaced. You can't, just like you can't replace someone who's been training for 10 years longer than you. It's hard to catch up to those reps. Well, guess what? If you have 20 fights and they have no fights, it's hard for them to catch up to that ring time. So it works both ways. All right, guys, have a good day.